Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hex Tribe, we've got a very special guest. You're familiar with his work. It's Jordan from Waters Above. He's the guy who fulfilled the Hex prophecy back in the day. I don't know if you remember, but we've got a couple of previous streams where his predictions were sometimes pretty scarily accurate. So if you need the proof, if you need the receipts, go back and take a listen to those after this one. Obviously, like and subscribe, and we'll give people a couple minutes to get in here. What's going on, Vets in Crypto, Hex Addict, Stefan, Paul Newman, Klaus, everybody in the chat. Good to see all you guys. It's been a while since I've done a stream, but it's great to have you on. Waters, I know you've been looking at Hex for quite some time now, and obviously you know what I stem from. My background is primarily the Richard Hart ecosystem, but how has your experience been lately in this bear market, and what's been new with you?
Well, first off, thanks for having me back on. I'm excited to rejoin forces, and I have been looking at Hex a lot more lately, mostly because of communicating with you. A lot of people from your community have showed up since our past interviews, so I appreciate all the support and all the love and open-mindedness to my outlook on the markets. But for me, it's just been kind of the same old, because I've been giving everyone this eclipse date in April 20th far in advance to prepare themselves for a little bit of bullish relief. And we've been watching that occur over the past couple of weeks specifically, but definitely over the past month and into early January, we started to see that kick off. So it's great. You know, our long-term analysis and long-term investment thesis is on point. It's on track. And Hex was definitely seeing a run up over the past couple weeks. So not my most recent YouTube video, but the one before that, I decided to go over it, and definitely been on my radar since.
Yeah, nice. So you said April 20th, right? That's a pretty significant date when it comes to, it comes to the moon cycles, and then obviously that moon in particular is an eclipse. I know last time you mentioned, full moons are typically bearish, new moons are bullish, but I mean, either way, they're just kind of dates of enhanced volatility, I would say. Something to keep an eye on. I mean, I know I've started to, just keep a mental note in the back of my head. Just whenever I look outside nowadays, I'm like, oh, that's where we're at in the moon cycle. Okay. And I kind of try to align that with where we're at in crypto. Obviously I focus on fundamentals and things we can't ignore, like the Federal Reserve as well. And I know we have a March 21st Fed meeting, but you're bullish up until mid-April, it sounds like. And so it sounds like you're not assuming anything is going to really happen out of the ordinary in this Fed meeting. Is that true?
Well, I think it's just going to be same old, like more of the same. When they kick in on their meetings, leading into it hour before or so, and then at the moment of the meeting, we get typical volatility. It's just par for course. I don't really think that particular date is going to be anything different than prior iterations of when Powell's speaking. But yeah, these Fed meetings and what's going on with the interest rates and all of this has almost become mainstream now. Like I hear normal people who barely know anything about investing or about markets at all talking about inflation and rate hikes, and they're getting their job done exoterically to build the narrative. That's been a big reason why I've been talking about this April eclipse date, because it's no different than past cycles. What we saw happen with crypto in the last cycle, which Hex wasn't a part of back in that 2016 into 2018, then down to 2019 move. Or was it part of the market back then, or was it introduced to the market after that cycle?
Hex was launched on December 2nd, 2019. So kind of right on the cusp.
So it missed.
Yeah.
So it pretty much launched at a time of the maximum bear market of that 2018 blow off top. So anyways, I've been telling people that moment pretty much that Hex launched until the summer. We watched 2019 was a relief rally. We had a super big sell-off, 95% losses in ETH, 80-something% losses in Bitcoin. We saw coins go to zero. But from December 2018, the end of that year, into June, July 2019, we watched an amazing relief rally that kind of shocked people in the crypto market. Like, why is this happening? So I've been preparing people. I've been preparing people for that same exact moment to happen. And it's amazing now that a lot of altcoins have fulfilled their automatic rally targets already. Like, we watched a 300 to 500% gain happen off of the lows on a lot of altcoins thus far. So I've been preparing people for this for a long time and telling them the reason for it is because we are leaving we're leaving the lunar phase of the overall cycle astrologically and entering a solar cycle. And when Bitcoin is in a solar cycle is when it has its bull runs. When Bitcoin is in a lunar cycle, it is when it's in its bear markets or its downtrends. So we move into solar cycle actually on April 20th of this year. And we could see more downside into the fall. But what I'm trying to show people is we're looking at 2-year, 3-year time horizons. And it's just beautiful how coded this is into the Bitcoin halving. And as you know, when Bitcoin goes into price discovery, everything else goes into price. A majority of things go into price discovery. And when Bitcoin has a big sell off, everything has a big sell off. So I've come to this place with my analysis. And it's why I shared with you in our first interview that regardless of the project, regardless of the people who are in charge of it, the masterminds, the people who are behind the scenes in the technology, if Bitcoin is in a bear market or a big sell-off, you're going to see projects like HEX take a 95% loss. It's exactly what we saw happen. Again, I was revealing this not to hurt anyone's feelings, but just to give you an actual opportunity, which is to buy an extremely oversold and discounted project that you're interested in.
Yeah.
But this April 20th date is, if you compare it to 2019, it would be the same thing as late June into early July of 2019, which was the end of the automatic rally. It was the end of that bullish energy. Now we have to pay attention to this because this might be the highest crypto goes until late 2024. So why miss out on this moment to de-risk? And that's what I've been educating people with. It's a very opportunistic moment for you to de-risk a portfolio that is a hot tamale. You know, I don't care what asset class you're in within this ecosystem. It is very volatile. It is unregulated for the most part. We know that there's a lot of change to come. It's not quite household just yet. So I don't want to play with that hot potato. I want to de-risk and then reassess later.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm keeping an eye on things and just keeping a lot of people that bought in the bear market that we've had for the last 9 months. Congratulations to all you guys, because you hypothetically could just take your initial investment off the table and let the rest of it ride up until 24, even 25. Sounds like what you're saying is that, April, May, maybe up into June, the first half of the year, you're going to remain bullish. And I think that's great. But I do, like I've been telling people from a fundamental side as well, just the Fed's not done raising rates, and Bitcoin could still have lower to go in the later half of the year. But again, it's only Q1. It might last for Q1, Q2. And I remember that 2019 feeling of when Bitcoin pumped up to 14K. I don't know if people were here in the chat. You might also remember that. I was at work and I was just freaking out. I had to get home and get to my computer because I had just gone through the most brutal bear market ever, and it's very reminiscent of right now, where you feel like, wow, this is so great, but I'm still, like you said, a little skeptical of too much of a good thing. And again, in the later half of the year, we could retrace a little bit.
Of course, and that's why, in Wyckoff Method, which is mostly what I educate people with, I call this an automatic rally or an automatic reaction. And another way of simplifying the term is it's a bull trap. They wanted you to wait. In that last cycle, they waited for Bitcoin to break 12K, and then Google Analytics on crypto shot through the fucking sky, and now everyone cares about crypto again at the worst time. So I teach my community, if I'm telling you that a coin is going to have a 95% sell-off, don't take it personally. It's an opportunity. We're smart, sophisticated, long-term investors, okay? So when we're getting these exaggerated sell-offs, it's the perfect time to start reaccumulation. If you want to buy the blood in the streets, but more importantly, the real wisdom is buy the boredom. When everyone's bored, the Google Analytics get to rock bottom, which is obviously YouTube as well today. When people are calling it a scam, this, that, and the third, that's really where you want to start taking action. It's like following the herd. Back in 2019, people followed the herd, and it's there in the charts to prove it. And the
Yeah.
final note I'll say about what you finished off on was I am adamant that we're going to get a bigger retracement for the stock market moving, or bigger sell off in the stock market into September, October of this year. So what we're seeing at the lows now for the NASDAQ, Dow, S&P, et cetera, I think we're going to take another leg lower, and it's going to be most likely occurring after May. So probably by June, July, we could start seeing this slide, and it should be very, very noticeable by September, October.
It's
And
good
when
to
that
keep in
goes
mind.
down, what happens to crypto?
Yeah, you can't ignore the correlation, right? I mean, crypto is pumping, it's rallying really, really hard where stocks and real estate are still extremely overpriced, and the inflation is not nearly under control, quote unquote, whatever that means to the Federal Reserve. But they need to rate hike a little bit more. They need to tighten quantitatively again. And so it's a bull trap, right? We're in that disbelief stage on that, classic market cycle.
Yeah.
But let's not count out the bull trap too early, right? Let's just enjoy the ride for the next couple of months or so. At least that's what I'm hearing from you. At least until the end of March, early April. Let's just
Well,
not
it depends.
get.
It
Go
it
ahead.
depends on where you entered. Okay, like if you got in on H bar at 3 cents, like, and you didn't want to take a 300% gain, then that could be on you if this asset folds over and it finished its automatic rally. This is why technical analysis is very important, because people need to know, when do I sell technically, and not just get so caught up in the dates. The dates are there to be helpful, but the charts are also there to be helpful as well. And when I'm looking at 95 RSI on a 12-hour chart, it's like we have to come to reality here. Like, you can't just keep moving up in a straight line throughout the entirety of April if you're looking at a chart that's already exhausted and overheated. I hope this makes sense, because not everything bottoms at the same exact time. We saw Ethereum hit under $1,000 6 months before Bitcoin went down to 15,000. If they were perfectly correlated, we would have seen both of them happen at the same time, but they didn't. ETH sold off faster and harder, whilst Bitcoin took a little bit more time to catch up, and now they're at equilibrium. Now they're more matched.
Yeah.
For
And if you
instance,
look at
the
Hex as
OG
well,
coins.
well, Hex was even more volatile than Ethereum, right? If Ethereum is like leverage on Bitcoin, then Hex was like leverage on Ethereum because it's a smaller cap, obviously, and it's just a newer coin in general, lower liquidity, lower volume, and all that stuff. So Hex reacts even faster than things like Ethereum. Ethereum reacts faster than Bitcoin to the news and stuff like that. But shout out to a lot of guys in chat. We've been talking about this dip buying opportunity for the past 9 months. I'm just talking about Hex specifically right now because it's skidded to almost a complete stop, where it was basically like a stable coin at 3 cents for many months on end. And you could really tell the boredom in people's minds. People were getting stir crazy. They just had to go, investing into other, shit coinery that, shiny objects that were being flung at us left and right.
Right,
But cheers to
right.
everybody that stayed the course, right? Because you could see the longer picture. If you had, 244 days, I read somebody tweeted it, you had 244 days to buy Hex below 5 cents. And a lot of people got swept away, and it was too long for them. It was too long to hold anything. And you really could have held almost anything during that time, not just Hex. And if you were buying and DCAing, then,
Right.
when things come back, obviously altcoins are again the first to react, followed by Ethereum, then followed by Bitcoin.
And I don't know if anyone could find this, but it was probably in our last interview, one of them, where I told everyone very far in advance, anticipate the January full moon to be the lowest this market is getting. And Hex hit the absolute lows 3 days before the January full moon. Like, when you're talking about that being told to the world months and months and months in advance to a moment and be within a 3-day accuracy to the lows, like, I'm not just making shit up. I'm trying to reveal to you that this moon cycle is critical. And
I've got this
really,
posted
if
on
you
my desk. It's funny. I've got a post-it right here that is from many months ago when we had a stream, and I wrote full moon Jan equals bottom just to keep that in my
see,
head. And it's like,
see, there
I'm
you
just
go.
looking back and it's like, oh wow. And then I still had April 2023 plus May lunar/solar
Right.
eclipse. So obviously I thought that was important enough to write down 6 months ago. And it's nice to just know that hasn't changed, right? You're obviously true to what you
Right.
believe in over time.
Yeah, well, I'm sharing it because I'm practicing it. Like, I'm not just like talking about it. But I had a lot of people around that time where we were pivoting into the new year where they're like, Waters, I thought the full moon was supposed to be bearish and like we were supposed to break lower. And I'm like, how much more bearish can 97% down be on most of these alts? Like, what do you want? Are you really that greedy? And then the same thing goes with the, people want day accuracy on a call that was revealed 5 months ago. Like,
Well, I think a
that's
lot
not
of
how this works.
people also just want a black and white, like it's a tendency, right? So you're not saying that every full moon is bad, every new moon is good, but everyone wants a binary world where things are a little bit
Right.
gray, right?
Right. And the skill that's being taught here is that when you zoom out, a majority of times you have bearish energy around full moons and you have bullish energy around new moons. And this is obvious now because all of your all-time highs and all-time lows on most assets are perfect correlation to those moons. The same thing with big sell-offs. They're usually around eclipses. Big pumps are around eclipses or leading into eclipses. It's just about energy. And yeah, there's 20 something thousand altcoins. So it's obviously not going to be 100% of altcoins are going to do this. But it's a helpful tool. It's something that we could use open-mindedly. And I believe, final thing I'll say on this, the people that are getting lost in it and that are getting mad at it and want more and more and like just can't seem to figure it out are the ones who are leverage trading. That's the people that are really going through the most of it because they're like, Waters, it's the full moon. Why isn't the thing doing the thing? And I'm like, you're leverage trading. I know you are.
Yeah.
Because the
Well, like
only people that act like that are people that should not be trading at all.
dude, those are truer words have never been spoken. I speak out against trading all the time, and luckily I haven't had to hear a whole lot of that kind of stuff from my particular community. I mean, and there is some overlap significantly, right? I know a lot of people from your side are over here watching and vice versa and subscribe to both channels, but everyone in that Venn diagram in the middle there, you guys are the ones that know that trading is bad. You can't be staring at a screen all day. You just have to take a hands-off approach. And we've said that since day one, right? Trading is how you make a large fortune into a small fortune in crypto. You're staring at the chart all day long, thinking that somehow can control the outcome. Like your focus on this chaotic system can somehow influence whether things go up or down, but it doesn't work like that, and it's like it's not up to somebody else, some guru, to have all the answers for you either. So, Water's above. He can again lead you to water, but he can't push your finger on the button, and choose when you buy or sell or when you get fudded out, when you get scared, because a lot of it's just fun, right? A lot of people you see them falling for narratives that come and go. But at the end of the day, you just have to realize that we're on the track for just another cycle.
People are making decisions based off of the cheap dopamine that they consumed.
It's an addiction.
That's really
right?
just it. That's really just it. They want to find people that tell them buy now, sell now. And if you're signing up for any of that shit, by the way, like that is toxic. That's parasitic. Like I release when I have been telling people that part of my Discord that comes with my Patreon, you'll see when I'm buying and when I'm selling, but I'm also out here every week teaching you the skills. So it's going to now make a lot of sense why when certain people are feeling one way in the populace, I'm not feeling that way. I'm going the opposite and I'm making my moves according to that. But I'm not telling people to sign up to follow my trading signals because that's insane. Also we have different cash flow. We have different cash flow systems going on in our life. We have different businesses. We have different cash savings. We have different assets. We have different investment thesis. We have different length of time of investment thesis. We're working with different sizes of capital. We have different risk management profiles, etc. This is so fucking crucial. So I just want to get back to the what we were speaking on before. It's that we need to learn skills here because the better you can fish, you're not waiting around for the fisherman to, sell you the fish.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Sounds like you're dealing with a little bit more of that than me at this moment, but I've also just kind of been hands off in general. The more questions that I get about like what should I do, I tend to retreat a little bit because I don't want to be giving anybody what should I do verbatim advice. I mean, that's not what I'm here for. I think we're both here to just teach people how to think for themselves. And luckily, I think our communities are, I'd say 90% curated towards that, but you're always going to get the newbies or the stubborn individuals that just don't want to take personal self-responsibility. We've got someone in the chat here and he wants to add the hex / moon cycle to the watch list. I was wondering if you have that handy for you on you, Waters. The moon cycle overlaid on, let's say, the hex chart, or really any crypto. It could be Bitcoin, whatever.
Yeah, I could try to pull that up for everyone. Let me see, because I wasn't really prepared for that, but let me know if you can see my screen. I'm going to try to share.
Okay.
Okay, let me know if you could see my trading view now.
You ready to
Okay.
share?
Yeah. So here we are. You could see the hex chart, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just hiding all the mess. And here we are. We have the moon cycle overlaid, and this indicator is actually set up naturally by default, kind of wrong, where the green is in the red, etc. You might not be able to see it because I have a very dark screen, but you can just simply look for the indicator called moon phases, and then you go to settings, and then you can change the growing moon, waning moon, full moon, new moon. You could just alter the colors as you wish. I have it set up so, you know, the new moons are at the top, full moons are at the bottom. Obviously, that's when the energy seems to be. And if I zoom in, you could see you have your full moon, you're at lows, then you rise into new moons, then you sink into full moons, then you rise into new moons. It's just over and over and over again. We were talking about the January full moon being your lows. We have the all-time high coming in over here exactly at the new moon within a couple days, etc. So yeah, that would just be the moon phases, and you could add this to any this indicator to your entire trading view, and then that could be applied to any chart you look at.
It's pretty uncanny, and it's like, you know, the logical brain doesn't want to believe something like, oh, it moon cycles, you know, that sounds too woo-woo for some people. But I've read actual studies that have proven that there's a correlation of volatility, at least around moon phases in particular. And when you have an asset like HEX that's relatively untouched by institutional money or trading bots, and it's only primarily traded on transparent, decentralized exchanges, it's kind of easier to get a feel for the market. You know, I mean, we literally cherry pick, and we look into whales that are dumping, and we see, okay, this guy's wallet's got 20 million hex, and he tends to dump. He sold the bottom, you know, LOL, screw that guy, glad he's gone. But we kind of have our finger on the pulse a little bit better in these newer markets because they're easier to get a handle of, as kind of a, you know, there's 120,000 stakers in HEX, right? How many people are trading HEX all day long? You could probably count them in the couple of thousands. So the system becomes a little less chaotic. And I like how the chart looks right now, because I like the stage we're at, because not only is there maximum opportunity, but there's maximum ability for you to kind of get a handle on, you know, when are the dips going to be, how to dollar cost average. It's not that hard to do, really.
Yeah, definitely. And there's only a couple like indicators that you need to learn to be able to start to make a decision of when this is overbought, when this is oversold, when I should, like, you know, do some moves, and try to go over that as much as I can in my weekly videos, just the free stuff that I'm releasing on YouTube every week, which I put a lot of you know, effort in. Sometimes these videos are 30 minutes. They're like full-blown presentations, technical analysis presentations.
Yeah. Yeah. Fibonacci you've got up there. I mean, that's something I spent so much time back in the day learning trading. You know, I did the TD sequential, candlesticks, moving averages. Fibonacci is an interesting one because it does seem to be scarily aligned at times where it shouldn't. There's no reason it has to, but the 1.618 number tends to kind of be a support and resistance zone a lot of the times.
Exactly.
But yeah, so you've got that pulled up right now. What are you reading on that?
So I got a couple things to get into. The first and foremost, I tried to clean up the chart for everyone to just have a little less noise. And I just have a basic fib pull from swing high to swing low. It's typically how you're pulling the bullish fib. And I have my chart on logarithmic, and I also have the logarithmic setting turned on in fibs. That's important that you turn that on. Now I'm looking at a more macro chart. If you're going to go micro, if you're trying to look at like maybe 40, 60 days of information, then you could actually probably break that down into a linear scale, because crypto is just so damn volatile, and you'd want to use your fibs according to that. But here we're looking at a cycle that's going from September 2021 over 460 days. That to me is a selling climax that's probably as low as this asset's going to go until later in the year. But as for this relief rally, the thing that's very compelling about it was this right here. We have the all-time high. We have this test, bull trap rejection. This was the lower low that broke this low, which now confirms we're in a downtrend, then another lower high. This rejection right here was where it started to get brutal, and you would have known by this low right there. So this, I just want to teach people, you got to watch out for stuff like this, man. When you get a lower high followed by a lower low from that low right there, it's kind of the SOS signal, like GTFO, because the slide that could occur after that is unbelievable to some people, you know, just like moon cycles that people don't want to believe it's possible, but then there you go, you lose another 90% off that top. So the next point to be made is this creates a trend line, right? We have 3 perfect touch points. That would be a confirmed trend line, especially when you're looking at it on a longer time horizon. This break right here is so textbook because we get rejected on this wick, we rise into it, and then after we started to close dailies above it, we back tested it. That back test on February 26th was incredible because it was to the wick. And then that bounce there, I would say March 1st was your confirmation that this automatic rally still has some juice in it. And look at what's happening today. We see HEX is down 3%, while even Bitcoin was down 4%. Bitcoin's down 4.6, ETH is down 4.8. So the chart on this is very specific. You got to pay attention to the specific chart and the TA that's happening on these candles. This looks gorgeous, but it's very quick.
Like you talk about trend lines, and a lot of people like to draw shapes on charts, right? The only shapes I've ever found in TA to be any like bit reliable are pretty much triangles, pennants, and things of that nature. And if you zoom in on the breakout of the resistance point on the way back up, if you zoom in a little bit closer, you could see actually an ascending triangle. But the reason that I think, and this is just my theory, right, but why triangles tend to work is they're really just variations of trend line support and resistance lines already, right? Like the more you try to tap a trend line, it's like energy bubbling up that'll eventually spill over, like when a tea kettle reaches boiling point. It's just a visualization of all the buy energy, and basically everyone buys and kind of sells when we reach the previous support and resistance levels. But that's all it is at the end of the day. It's people all kind of agreeing that, okay, that last little peak was a support level, it's now turned into a resistance level, or actually the opposite in this case. It used to be resistance, now it's support. Comes back and retests, and that's just basically all you need to know in TA is it's all stems from support, resistance, and trend lines.
That's why I save my patterns or any like drawing on the charts as like a tertiary part of my analysis. And I teach this a lot in my advanced trading course, but I'm also very candid about it because I see a lot of the popular TA YouTubers just fucking all drawing all these lines on charts. And to me, that's just nonsense. It's art. It's like art class. It's not TA. But this trend line that I'm talking about right now is obvious. It's a long term and it's undeniable. I'm not just doing it to fit into my thesis. We have a lot to say here, like straight line breakout above the 236. That's very key. And then you had this higher high and the structure that we broke right there. This is all trend reversal proven to us in real time. But let me just show you something really quickly. I could just delete all of this. And we could just talk about this bull trap right here. Okay, you see this moment? So we're just going to pull a fib from this swing high over to this swing low. This is basic stuff. I'm not showing you witchcraft. We get the rejection at the 702. Dunzo. That's your golden pocket bull trap textbook. That's why I teach the 702. Because a lot of people, they only look at the 618 or the 786. But that 702 is specific to crypto. It works very, very well. Just a little tool that has come from my work over hours and hours and hours and hours of playing around with this particular indicator. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, let's finish talking about, since I'm here, let's finish talking about where this relief rally could end. All right. I think that's what everyone wants to know. So when we're looking at a macro fib, you want to get cautious around the 0.5 fib, right? In TA speak, when you get rejected at the 0.5 and start to roll over, that's called you're anticipating either a double bottom or what they call a dead cat bounce. That would not be good, but that's most likely what's to come in crypto, not with the 0.5, but it depends because crypto is very volatile. You could get an extension all the way up to these to this golden pocket. So what I will do now to add more confluence to it all is I'm going to delete this and look at where am I getting some horizontal levels to pay attention to. And it's clear to me that it's right here.
Yep.
between this and this.
I mean, you got to keep it simple sometimes, right? A lot of people they
Keep it
do these
simple.
schizo charts, and you see the meme of like the schizophrenic like TA guy who just has like it's all just lines, and it's not, you can't even see the underlying chart. Just come back to
Yeah,
imagine these two resistance points are like a magnet, right? And they're kind of pulling you towards
exactly.
it, but you overshoot and it pulls you back, and then there's undershoot. That's how I've always
Exactly.
kind of thought about it in my head.
This is why I love Wyckoff Method. I brought it up earlier because we're analyzing horizontally. The issue with a lot of these popular TA YouTubers is they're looking at everything from a very well, everything is about these like diagonal patterns and rising wedges and falling, descending this. And like they're never really zooming out and looking at the horizontal levels. And once you zoom out and you look at everything horizontally, it's a lot easier to determine where you're going to get your supports and resistances. So you can kind of, it makes a lot of sense right here why you got this pull down to that level.
Yeah.
See, you get this big liquidity wick. You have a little bit of play before the straight line breakout and continuation. But where did this back test come? Right at the neckline of this W. That's like the cleanest W I've ever seen. So you just got to know how to identify some of these horizontal patterns, and it's going to make your life so much easier, and it's going to be more accurate. But anyways, so I would look at HEX around 10 cents. 10 cents makes a lot of sense.
Nice.
Let me pull a
Yeah.
fib. The last thing I'm going to do is where's those levels? It's right between that 0.5 and 618. To me, that's overextended. You know, I would really get conservative. If this thing gets to around 10, I would want to start de-risking. The odds of it getting to the 702 or within this 15-cent range is less likely, but anything's possible.
Yeah, the only reason I could see it overshooting, and that's kind of just been my, back of the napkin guess as well, without TA or anything. I was just thinking 7 to 10, right? Like 10 to 12, maybe. If we do get a PulseChain testnet V3 announcement, it could be 15, 18, whatever the last peak was, because that 18.7 mark, that was where we topped out when we all thought PulseChain was going to launch in May. And
Yeah,
that was a great
it's
time.
right here at this peak.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Right,
I mean,
right there.
again, it's just all support and resistance. I mean, if you guys don't know what basic support and resistance are, maybe give that a Google. It might be worth knowing.
Yeah. And we're talking about the end of an automatic rally, which could be wicks. Like we're talking about within 48 hours, it could zoom between 15 to 19. And then the next 48 hours, it could be down to 9 cents.
Oh yeah,
It's a
dude. And
blow
HEX, I
off.
mean, in
I'm
in
not
a
just talking about
crazy,
HEX. I'm talking about the entire crypto market. Like these automatic rallies almost look like blow off tops. And you could go into many charts and you could see how that all goes. I mean, ETH, if you go back to the last cycle, you're going to see literally Christmas tree top and then sell off. So this was that automatic rally that I was discussing earlier in our interview. It just shows you we have this 95% sell off. Then you have this automatic rally perfectly into the 0.5 fib. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to fuck around with this 0.5 fib. It's not smart because where did ETH get it? A single wick. So if you were waiting and waiting for this like fucking fairy tale price to hit, you missed out on all of these days where we were bashing into pretty close to it. That's why I'm saying everyone needs to be very conservative about the next move they make if they're considering de-risking in this market. And by the way, I'm not telling everyone I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not selling everything I have. You sell the same way you DCA. You sell in chunks. So the smart, market participant is buying in chunks and also selling in chunks. There's no perfect, execution of your move. You just have to lower your greed, your appetite for more. That's really where you become a lethal weapon in this market. The more you control your greed and control your emotions, the better you'll be at trading the plan that you designed. And if you don't have a plan, then you're really lost.
Now, ironically, the better able you are to control your greed corresponds with the more money you have. So it's like it takes money to make money, right? Which is it's easier said than done. But yeah, we talk about not trading, right? And people are like, oh, well, if you're taking profit, isn't that like trading? And the answer is no, absolutely not. I might make like 2 moves a year, if that, right? Like 2 or 3 moves in a year when it comes to buying and selling, like buying the dip and now selling, whatever local top potentially. It's not really like that many, like the amount of actions that we actually end up making once you get to this level are very, very few and far between, right? So just take that with a grain of salt. It's not encouraging trading or anything, but if you put in 10 grand at the lows and now your bag's worth 50K, but there's probably some bear market left, maybe you want to take 10K initial off the table and then buy back in at the new lows again, right? It just seems like kind of an easy opportunity when we all know that stocks, real estate, the greater stock market at large is not done dumping.
Yeah. Well, I guess that you're delineating between being like an active day trader to more of a swing trader style. That's more what I preach. Like I try to not really get into a trade unless I'm anticipating it to be the multi-month trade of just new moon, full moon. And even most times I hold off for that. And lately I've been planning my trades to be bigger and more long-term and low or no leverage. It's the shorter term leverage trading that has poisoned the ability for people to grow and advance in this market. Stop fucking with leverage.
Absolutely.
Especially with money you can't afford to lose. But let's just, kind of wrap up the idea with this. You need to sell, right? You don't make money by hodling till your grave. The whole point of you getting in these markets was to make more money, right? So this is what's problematic for people in bull runs or in these automatic rally moments is they feel like there's this pride and virtue that comes along with holding on, like diamond hands. Like that shit is not how you do well in markets. It's the same diamond hands people that become quiet when it's not working in their favor anymore, and then they're probably behind the scenes selling, panic selling too.
Yeah, a lot of the people that claim diamond hands might have been the same people selling the bottom, right? You don't just hold forever. Now there are ways to actually spend crypto, and hopefully one day we'll live in a world where you don't have to take profits because it'll just be more common for people to accept crypto for goods and services. But that's not the world we're living in right now. So yeah, don't get leverage trading or trading in general confused with what we're talking about here, where it's just a couple of moves. But would you mind pulling up the Bitcoin 2009 because I want or 2019 rather, because I want people to see the parallel between what's happening now in HEX and everything, right? In every altcoin versus what happened in 2019, where we basically had a parabolic run. Look at the screen right here. We basically went parabolic after that, 6 months of absolute death at $3,000 Bitcoin. Went from 3K to 14K in like 3 months. And that's kind of looking like what's happening now again. But going back to your blow off top at the 0.5 level, it looks like Bitcoin blew off even harder, right? It went up to the point.
It did. And
Yeah.
I'll tell everyone why. And it's something I exposed is Bitcoin is actually the safest thing to be in during a selling climax, bear market, and into a relief rally. Basically, from this moment to this moment to this moment, Bitcoin is the best thing to be in because it has the least opportunity for losses. It has the least volatility, obviously, but then it does the best usually in these automatic rally cycles. And what I mean by that is the performance overall comparatively to the losses that everything experienced before is better when you compare both. So in English, you have an 80-something% sell-off with this asset, whilst you have maybe a 300% gain. And I could just show you really quickly. I think it's about, there you go. You have about 340%, right? But let's look at ETH now. And you're going to see the difference. So with ETH, you lost 95% on the down, and then the rise, you only got 340, pretty much the same. So think about this, right? We actually you can look at other altcoins that did worse than this. They only made about 250% gains while ETH outperformed them. So the energy now is in Bitcoin's, Bitcoin controls the market. Again, it's the dominant player. This has everything to do with what I shared in the beginning of the podcast about the solar cycle versus lunar cycle. We are in a lunar cycle energy at this time. We are moving into solar cycle. And as we move into that, which only comes around like every 3 to 4 years, Bitcoin now is sucking in all the market cap, all the energy. And that's why alt seasons come in after Bitcoin has its blow off tops. Like you had Bitcoin hit an all-time high in December of 2017, around December 12th, but then your all-time high came in for ETH exactly 1 month later because it gave back dominance to the alts, and then you see the typical cycle. And this, what we had happened last year was pretty much the same as well. We saw Bitcoin hit an all-time high on April 14th, and then it rolled over to May 11th for ETH. Like it's just the same kind of thing over and over. The only thing that was different about this bull run is we had a wild Q4 buyback into 2021. But otherwise, this was your initial blow off. But I hope this makes sense to people. You'd want to be in an asset that has less opportunity to lose value and has equally a good chance of gaining value comparatively to something else. Bitcoin's safer in that regard.
Yeah. Yep. That's it's just very reminiscent. That's all. It's it feels like we've been here before. And if you have been in crypto for longer than 3 years, objectively, yeah.
Let me show people real quick just the how specific this all is. So I have nothing on my chart right now. You have your all-time high, then here is your all-time low, 357. Let's just call it 1 year later. Here you have your all-time high. Here you have your low. It's right there, 365, 1 year later. Then you broke and rose out of support. I'll show you actually from this top that we get, which hasn't come yet in our cycle, but to the breakout right here, this breakout date, 86 days. Now we have like April would be our solar eclipse, April 20th. Sorry, let me zoom in so people could see better. So here we go, April. You had your break actually come in earlier. This broke out. This broke out, and let me see the amount of days. About 86 days here from break. Yeah, so we actually started breaking out earlier than we did last time. It's really interesting. That makes sense though, because this solar eclipse was in June, while our solar eclipse is in April. 2 months difference. We pretty much broke out 2 months early. But the amount of days from sell-off from all-time high to all-time low, 1 year, exactly, no different. And I'm anticipating this move right here is pretty much going to be the same as well into eclipses.
Right. Yeah. Pretty uncanny, the resemblance, right? I mean, not all cycles are going to behave exactly the same, but 1 year from top to bottom, it's not new. So what's up, guys in chat? If you got any specific questions, one guy wants to know, are we still in Shemitah zones? I don't know if the Shemitah is like a 7-year cycle, right? I don't know if a Shemitah zone is a thing, but what do you think?
Well, we're not in a Shemitah year anymore because that was September 2021 through September 2022. But the thing that we are in is what I'm calling Jubilee, which is only happening once every 50 years. And this is through a decode that I did about 1970 with the Nixon shock, and which led to, you guys know that event, and then the 1973 to 1975 recession. I'm seeing a cyclical repeat of the same exact thing. And that would be 2023 through 2025. Crypto is going to be isolated in this conversation because crypto is its own thing. But when I'm like analyzing the overall economy and what to anticipate, that's pretty much it. But no, we are not in a Shemitah anymore, but we are in an event that is even more rare. So what Jubilee means is you have 7 cycles of 7 Shemitahs. That's 49 years. And on the 50th year, you practice Jubilee. So 50 years ago, right, would have been 73. Correct.
And you can see that with Biden's plan of student debt forgiveness. And if you guys remember the event that he's talking about, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Bretton Woods Agreement, where they took money off the gold standard, right? That was 50 years ago.
Correct.
And then, so it's kind of the analogy I would make is that was a centralization of power back then, where Federal Reserve was gaining power as the dominant reserve currency. This is tipping back into the decentralization of power, where now crypto is in the spotlight, looking to replace a lot of the, crypto is almost like the Jubilee in the sense of it's a way out, right? It's a way out for a lot of people that don't want to, pay taxes for funding wars and killing random people that they have no involvement in. But I digress. I'll let you go on.
Well, no, I mean, biblically, it's supposed to be a positive thing. Like, it's supposed to be a very, very like positive thing. It's supposed to be about giving land back to people where it was once confiscated, or letting slaves free, or prisoners. Like, it had a lot to do with that kind of vibe. But in
But
our
that's what
world
crypto is in
today,
a way. Crypto is the giving the power back to the people.
if they want to use it. But unfortunately, like you said earlier, and you were right about this, and I'll double down on it, is until we start to use it as a money, it's basically just a traded speculative opportunity for us to make or lose money. But what will be the opportunity here, what will allow us to actually do what you just said, or what we would theoretically want, is for us to use it as a currency, and we don't. People are not transacting with it. The people need to make that decision. Until the people do that, guess what? The elite, the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, will continue to rise and fall in this market as they do, manipulating everything with fiat. And this is kind of where I'm pointing the finger back at us. And I'm saying that it's our fault that this market doesn't do what it should be doing.
Well, I can educate people on a couple of different ways to actually spend crypto, and I'm getting very interested in this myself because I want to live an entirely crypto-based life, and then that doesn't just mean with the communities that I hang out with, both virtually and in real life, but where I'm able to buy goods and services. And you can go to places like bitrefill.com. That's bitrefill.com. You can also go to shopping.io. You buy anything you want from Walmart, Home Depot, eBay, all using crypto. You can buy gift cards all using crypto. You can even buy prepaid virtual Mastercards, debit cards, all using crypto. You know, wink, wink. I'm just saying. I mean, there are inklings of where the world is headed. And there are certain things you can do. You can check out spritz.finance. Consider maybe even paying your bills with crypto. Just options out there, right? And it's not only Bitrefill, right? There's tons of different places. There's Cake Pay. There's BitPay. You can do that self-custodied. You know, Swift Recharge, Moon Pay with Moon. I think that might have gotten taken down. There's all kinds of options you can do though. If you can even just go to cryptwork.com and see a list of every single place that exists today, every business, both online and physical, where you can spend crypto. I'll just pop that in the chat because that's kind of like a starting place for everybody. But yeah, that's the world that I want to live in. And so I'm just trying to educate people. You know, we need more businesses like this. We need more people to play by the rules a little bit, have one foot in the regulatory game just to get your money transmitters licenses and all that. But once we're in the crypto world, we really can just operate completely within that realm as long as we have enough people on our level educated that we can cooperate with.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of either or. People mostly wait for the system to be so-called safe for them to feel like they could play the game. And right now, a lot of us, most of us, are believing in something that isn't quite household just yet, but mostly we're involved for the opportunity of making more money. That's just the reality of things. Um,
It
that's
is.
why this that's why this is what it is. But if you study back when Bitcoin was like had no value, and it was like fractions of a penny, and people were just mining it on their computers for fun, and these like hackers and, kind of like the cyber black market people, they were just having fun with it, and they believed in it, and they were creating it. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin was created by them, but all of these kind of concepts initially were through that particular community. The people that were on the how do I say it? They were looking at, how do we do this system without the traditional, without this traditional kind of methodology, and how do we do it better, faster, with less fees, and utilize where this is headed anyways. But that's where then it becomes the other side of the coin, where I know that the elite, the central bankers, the people that are in the Fed, they have a system that's like this, and it's like this, and it's going to be very draconian and controlling and tied to social credit. And that's something people need to discuss as well. Like, it's not just rainbows and unicorns. They're going to be able to tax you easier. They're going to be able to do it to a fraction of a penny on blockchain. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where we as an individual, we're going to have to be in communities where we still desire sovereignty, and also at the same time just prepare ourselves for the incoming system. There's going to be a way to do it, as there always has been in any stage of life here on Earth. When things get weird or things get dark or there's changes that we all have to go forth with. A good example is when credit cards were being created and debit cards. There was probably big groups of people that were like, "Oh, this is the mark of the beast. You know, this is evil." Like, and then there was also people that were like prepared for change. That were like, "No, this is convenient. This is great. This is awesome, etc." But then now, cash is barely accepted anywhere. So you're all forced to use the cards no matter what. Payphones were removed from every city that you live in. You can't use a payphone anymore. So now you're forced to having a cell phone. Um, you can be against this shit as much as you want, but ultimately you're gonna be pushed into using your phone to scan a QR code so you can know what the menu of the restaurant is serving. You might be against it, but this is just where it's headed. So for me, I'm not really in any desire of the crypto world or the crypto payments or any of that. I'm just like kind of an angel on the sidelines waiting to see how everyone reacts to it. And I'm playing my game like a poker player. You know, I'm not looking to be involved in it, but I know I have to be. And the way that I do it is going to be in a way that maintains my sovereignty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking to be involved in it. Maybe that's just a little bit of a difference that I have some kind of an emotional vendetta. Like I'm invested in freeing the people. You know, we do have the option to join a parallel financial system, and it is going to be it's going to go slow until it starts going fast. I mean, it's going to pick up speed over time. People that are in it right now, I mean, everybody watching is already in it, so we know. But it's up to us to
Exactly.
educate yeah. But we have to educate our friends and families so that they're in the early majority, because that's where all the opportunity is going to be. The late majority, the laggards, when it comes to the adoption curve, they're not going to have the same opportunities that we have because we will have made all of our money just simply by holding crypto. I mean, you could even fuck up and trade and do leverage, but as long as you're still holding some crypto at the end of the day, 5 or 10 years from now, you're going to be one of the few people that has money to spend, whereas every other digital fiat currency has been inflated to complete shit, you know?
Exactly. And that's a big conversation to have because I feel like this is probably the last cycle, like the one that we're about to embrace, the 2024 to 2025. That's probably the last cycle where we're going to have this ROI that we're used to seeing in crypto land. It'll probably also be the last cycle that we have tens of thousands of tradable altcoins. I think a lot of that's going to be wiped away, not because I want them to be wiped away or I have a problem with these shit coins. It's just whatever regulations are to come. And when they start utilizing ISO 222, when they start utilizing these CBDCs, all of that is going to reconstruct everything that we know of as that we know today. And it's going to have a new kind of energy to it as we go towards the next Shemitah. And I feel like that next one is probably where we're going to see the new world economy that we've been slowly predictively programmed with. That's when it's going to start to be a thing. Touch to pay with crypto is probably going to be as normal in America as it currently is in China, that kind of stuff. But America and Europe, we're not quite there yet. I know places like Mexico and most of South America, they're definitely not there, but they're laying the infrastructure for that to be a thing. And speaking of people or communities that use their phones and this tap to pay function with these digital currencies, I mean, it's kind of normal in China now. They've normalized it. And as that becomes normal, it's like, how did it become normal? Because the government pushed it on them the same way all the other things get normalized. This is kind of where we have to be open-minded to, like, I think 2025 through 2028 is going to be an interesting time to watch all this infrastructure that's being laid out will actually start being used by the public.
Yeah, look, there's always going to be a government version of everything, but assuming that hopefully, you know, knock on wood, that the USA and other countries in the West play their cards right and they don't totally obliterate crypto with terrible regulations and laws. The regulations and laws are coming. The CBDCs are obviously coming. But just like you can use a VPN and you can use a Tor browser, these are advanced things that the everyday human doesn't care about, doesn't do. You know, you can still get a PO box. There's different ways you can do, different things you can do to protect your privacy and your self-sovereignty in the modern world. I think that's always going to go for crypto too, using things like Monero, you know, whatever, layer 2 anonymity sets and stuff like that. They're very advanced things, but, you know, us being ahead of the curve a little bit is going to bode you well when everybody else is just using the CBDC that they think is crypto, but it's just basically, right. I mean, there's public blockchains and private blockchains, right? We saw what happened to everybody thought intranet was going to be the thing. Every company was going to have their own intranet. It didn't really go that way. And nobody's using Microsoft's intranet. Nobody cares. So we luckily have public internet available to us as a utility. I'm hoping we get public blockchain available as a utility as well, and that they're not draconian in the sense of you have to use our CBDC built on our private, totally not immutable blockchain, right? But if they don't, then we're going to have to choose. We're going to have to know the best options to opt out. But if we're living in a world where everybody has a cell phone and the ability to scan a QR code with a public address, and if everybody's able to have an app on their smartphone that allows them to have a self-custodied wallet like MetaMask, then I think it's just a matter of time before we need to build the infrastructure to get to that free permissionless society that we want to live in. But it comes with building open source software and just free tools that everybody can use, and hoping and praying that the powers that be, and obviously you can go participate in lobbying and politics as well. I don't really tend to love that side of things, but people might have to get their hands dirty and influence some of the laws so that they're not necessarily favorable to free crypto, but just not harming the people that want to live in the permissionless society.
What prevents the government doing what they desire to do is when you're not obedient.
That's a good point.
So that's really it. If you analyze why certain states in the United States of America didn't shut down the same way that other states did, it's purely because the consciousness that they're working with, the type of obedience that is within that jurisdiction. If people don't give a shit about it, they're not going to be able to pull it off. If the people care and they're living in fear and they believe in it and they're scared of it, then they will fold to the requirements and restrictions of their government. So this is going to be a big turning point for the crypto conversation and where things are headed, especially if CBDC start to launch in the more developed world. As you brought up, it's going to be a choice of the people. And I got to admit, brother, most people just do what they're told. So if they're told this is it, this is Fed coin on whatever, here's the thing. They don't even need to call it something different. You can just wake up one day and instead of seeing $1,000 in your bank account, you'll see 1,000.01587638547, and it'll just be tokenized. Yep. And you'll be like, oh, cool, I have fractions of a penny now. I'm literally, bro, I'm being serious. People are going to be like, oh, cool, that's neat. Look at that. I now have a bunch of fractions of a penny. That's cool. Like they're going to literally be like children in a candy store. Okay. Now, if you convert it completely, if you make it so that 1,000 now becomes 500 and something, you will have pitchforks, fucking shotguns, fires, people throwing, like it'll be like an ongoing BLM protest on every corner of every street. They can't do that. And now here's the thing, bro. They can come out and say that 500 that you now have is still equivocal to the 1,000, but humans they're not armed with this ability to like see it that way. So they will still riot. They will still be mad because it's a lower value. They'll think that something was stolen from them. This is like the problem when you talk about one Bitcoin being 30,000 or whatever. People can't even fucking fathom how that makes sense, right? They're like, but if it's 30,000, how do I put 300 in it? They don't even know about the fraction of the Bitcoin. So we're so miseducated in all of this. I believe that whatever the New World Order wants to do to the tokenization of this economy as a whole, it will need to be one-to-one. It will be identical to the current fiat system, which is infinitely printable with zero value, backed by nothing. It will almost be the same identical system. So we're not going to get anything that looks much different. I think people are kind of waiting for this day where like they wake up and like their whole like, big brother came in to snoop on their bank account, every transaction that you're making and this, that, and the third. And it's really not the case. Like the bank doesn't look at anyone's accounts. There's algorithms and software that does it all. And it triggers according to whatever metrics are in their system, etc. The new system they have coming, they're working with all the commercial banks so that there's an easy transition, right? That they're not going to make it this horrendous moment for you, because they can't afford for you to riot. They can't afford for there to be a full scale revolution. Their whole thing is controlling you through fear, not showing you that, hey, they're gonna just take whatever they want and do whatever the fuck they want, and you're just gonna be quiet about it. We're not China. Like, it's different here in the States. So I know the American mindset. I know the consciousness of this particular country, and I think it might be very similar for most of Europe, Canada, for Australia, New Zealand. I definitely know it's the case in places like Mexico and the lesser developed world, because they just do whatever the fuck they want to do. You know, it's
Yeah.
really hard for them to have those lockdowns and to have those restrictions. So, like I said moments ago, it's all about the consciousness they're working with. But I still believe that, where it's a very multifaceted, grandiose, philosophical, theoretical conversation that we could have all day. And I love having it. But more importantly, is like, what do you as an individual do? Specifically me and you, what do we do as educators in the space to just keep people open to the possibilities, not living in la la land, like this is all going to be perfect and good for us? Like, there is a darker perspective. And I agree. I hope, as you hope, that we as more sovereign seeking individuals make the right choice, and we don't just continue to fold over and over and over again to whatever laws and infrastructure that's being put beneath us.
Yeah, I agree, but like you're also saying, we also do have freedom of speech so far in this country, and we do have the ability to influence the system and live in the future that we want to, right? And be the change you want to see in the world, so to speak. Which sounds like too airy fairy for some people, but no, really, you can affect your reality. You can have a hand in affecting the outcome of how it's going to be, because they are going to fight us. I mean, it's going to be a quiet revolution, or they're going to hope it is, right? But there's going to be some uncomfortable growing pains. And you could see crypto adoption, mainstream adoption, coming from the fringes of countries that were outcast from, typical first world amenities and things like Africa, El Salvador. These countries are trying to save themselves with actual crypto the way it was supposed to be, right? And like you said, yeah, they do whatever they want. It's coming for our, Western countries as well. It's in progress right now. We're seeing people go about it in different ways. Myself, I've considered, jurisdictional arbitrage, right? What if I just moved to Puerto Rico? What if I, as a last resort, what if I just moved to Antigua or St. Kitts or Portugal, someplace where I'm actually treated better? So people
Right.
might tend to go where they're treated best, or they can stand on the soil they were born on and try to fight for a future that they want to actually live in. But it's not going to be a comfortable, smooth ride. It might get loud. People might actually, COVID was a way for the government to kind of see how far they can push people before there's riots and stuff
Exactly.
like that.
It's an obedience experiment. It's what I brought up
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. And I
And
always
the
thought it
new
was,
economy will be an obedience experiment as well.
it kind of always has been, and it always will be, just power structures don't want to lose power, and they're just going to see what they can get away with. I always thought a good way for them. So, feds, if you're listening, to get people to like transfer over to get the dullards, just the everyday Joe schmoes to want to get the CBDC, is just offer them like 1.1 CBDC for every dollar. And then all the guys they're watching TV, eating popcorn. Like, oh, I can get $110 for every $100. I'm going to use that. Sounds like a
Yep.
great deal. And, they're not even going to know that they just kind of sold all their power away to, a totally permissioned ledger.
You're on it, man. And like, I think there's going to be the rewarding of it. For instance, like now when you watch Netflix, instead of you watching Netflix and paying for the the $10 a month or whatever you pay, it's going to be like, for how many ads you watch, you'll be given tokens, and then that will be a payoff. Basically just you doing activities, or you doing you could be at work, and it could be based on how many hours straight you work will reward you an additional bonus of these blockchain tokens. And this will be kind of where it's all headed. It'll be like a Black Mirror episode. So I think there's going to be a couple of things like that to think about. How long do you run on a treadmill will be how many like coins you earn. And then it'll be like a meritocracy on steroids, but very like Black Mirror like.
Well, they've already tried, apps like that, but they've all been run by, I'm skeptical. I don't think everything is going to be totally run by the government, especially if they were smart. They would let the free market continue to make their little, treadmill apps. They'd be third-party private corporations. I do wonder though. It's like at the end of the day, the IRS just wants to get their money, right? The government just wants their taxes. So how are they going to control those on and off ramps? I think once they feel that they have a good sense of control where people can't quote unquote cheat the system. Now I'm hoping there's always backdoor ways around that, right? Not saying, I'm just saying. And then, but as soon as the IRS and the powers that be consider that, oh, we've got this under control, they stop looking. They stop trying to cut off, new innovations that might be happening, right? That kind of happened with the internet too. There's a lot you can do on the internet today if you're savvy that a lot of people just don't know about, but the government thinks they've got it under control. But then look what happens, decentralizes mainstream media and it overthrows power structures like CNN and Fox because now, more people listen to the Joe Rogan Experience 10 times as much than the CNN. So
yeah,
it's going to be
more
interesting.
people Google Andrew Tate than they did Donald Trump. Like,
that
so
was
it's
crazy,
like, well, I mean, it's just part of what you're exposing. And I think like, here's the thing. I feel like I've kind of maybe I've made things sound a little dark and that's not what I mean. And anyone who follows my work, that I'm just trying to be a real one about it. But ultimately, I know what I'm going to be doing. I know what I'm going to not be doing. So if whatever change comes, like I know exactly how I'm going to play my cards. And I've been taking action every single day of my life to know exactly how I'll respond to those moments, and I think if we can transfer into a more lighter conversation, it's just, this is the time to have education in what's to come in any capacity, but more importantly, how between now and then you can utilize skills or develop skills or anything to start earning and controlling the way you earn money. How do you get cash flow? So if you're employed right now, that's not bad. That's not a problem, but like just be open-minded to any free time you have. Study a system, study a business model, study other brands so that you can slowly break free from that system. Because when this new economy shows up, that's who it's going to be enslaving the most, is the worker, the employee. Now, I don't want to say this to be dark. I'm saying this to be motivating you to break free from that, because we don't know when this change is going to happen. It could be 2035, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people, they get so anxious and so worried and they think it's so shitty, like life is so unfair because the government, the IRS and the central bank, but it's not that way. It's you as an individual. What will you do between now and that moment? So that's how I live my life. Like what can I do today to enhance my position to secure my future?
Yeah. And there's always going to be winners and losers in new paradigms of society, right? The internet revolution for the past 20 years, you could say we've been living in kind of a new paradigm, and there are winners and losers. There's people that have made entirely new businesses. Call Mark Zuckerberg what you want, but that dude won, right? Like he's a multi-billionaire. Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I'm just saying there's people that position themselves to be on top of what's coming, right? Or there's people that position themselves just simply to adapt, right? Things just learning how to monitor your own thoughts, learning how to filter your timeline, how to, block haters that just try to make you mad online. And then there's other people that are losing the game. They're just sitting on their couch, they're watching TV, they're scrolling through Facebook, and they're totally addicted. They're getting outraged at every Russian propaganda botnet that was specifically designed to outrage them, and they're thinking it's a real person. There's people arguing with bots on Twitter right now, and those guys are not having a good time. So it's all up to the individual, right? That's what we're saying at the end of the day. Starting a business has been a great idea for myself and obviously for you, everybody watching. If you can eventually find the way to make your own money and not be reliant on a daddy corporation, that's probably going to bode you well for centuries, until we're colonizing the moon and colonizing Mars, right? That'll be like the new America one day. We're going to get fed up with it here.
It's nice to know that if something started to fall apart in my reality, I have the skills and the building blocks to rebuild it on my own. Like I'm a carpenter, I'm a mason of my own world, like you can build a new business if you already have been through the process of building one once or twice or three times. You're going to get better at it because you're going to refine your process along the way. Like, you need to start becoming like a stonemason of the architecture of the way that you earn currency. Because if you do not, if you don't go through that process, and by the way, the tower's gonna fall. Like, you're gonna have shit not always work for you, but the ceiling is infinite once you figured it out. Whilst your job, there's only so many promotions you can get, hours you can work, and raises you can be offered. And
Yep.
even in the system that we promote as the best system, which is go to college, pay all that fucking money to get a degree, which gives you the opportunity to allegedly make more money than other people, that's horse shit. Because I know 16-year-olds that do e-commerce making millions of dollars while their dads are doctors making maybe 200K a year if they're lucky. These kids are making 200K every 3 months selling fucking shoes they bought in China,
Yeah.
and just reselling it through Facebook ads. It's like, this is what people need to learn, that these are possibilities. And if you're just talking shit about Mark Zuckerberg or Elon or any of these creatives, and you're disregarding what they accomplished, then that's lack. And you're probably never going to be able to experience what they have experienced ever at any capacity, because you're looking down at something that's been able to accomplish something you haven't even gotten close to. So for me, like, I find people like Steve Jobs or Kanye or any of these marketing geniuses, I don't need to like them. It's not about liking them. I don't even know them, but they've accomplished amazing things. And
Yeah.
that has inspired me to, look at life in a different way. That, yes, there's a lot of risks by being sovereign, but then I don't wear a leash around my neck. So yeah, the dog can't run away when it's on the leash and get hit by a car. But like, do you want to live that so-called safe reality with a very low ceiling that's controlled by a shit economy? Or do you want to open yourself up to an infinite economy with no ceiling and infinite potential? That's your opportunity by getting into business, especially online. I mean, think about online. You don't have to have operating hours. You don't need to have a brick and mortar. You don't even need to hire anyone. You could outsource work of skills that you don't have. I don't know how to edit
Right.
videos, but I can go on Fiverr and I could send my video to somebody somewhere and they could just edit it for me for a pretty reasonable price. And I'm doing the real economy now. I'm paying a person. I'm not paying a corporation, So people got to learn this stuff, man. Like, you don't even need to be good at anything in this world. And you could still figure out a way out. You could still
Yeah.
figure out a way,
Well,
we
we're
know
all
this as a
pioneers.
fact because look at OnlyFans. You could just be naked in front of a camera and be a millionaire.
Show your butthole. Yeah. Make millions. Beautiful. Welcome to 2023. No, but we're all pioneers of this new frontier. The internet was one frontier. Crypto is a new frontier, right? You mentioned you can hate on people like Mark Zuckerberg, Richard Hart, all you want, but at the end of the day, look at what they've done. Elon Musk, people love. It's like, when did it become trendy to hate on Elon Musk? Like, this dude has done so much more than any other human being. Like, whether you agree with their life's purpose or not, whether you agree that, oh, why is he worried about Mars? He should be saving the planet. It's like, cool. Well, you're an armchair quarterback. Why don't you go do it? Right? You have the ability to get off your ass and like go make these companies that you wish Elon was making. Sorry, your daddy's not doing what you wish he was doing. But yeah, someone said water is above dropping the clear pills. Yeah, I agree. We just all have to be pioneers on the new frontier. Just like on the internet, you've got that created a whole new breed of like Instagram influencers or people flipping shoes or making courses about, how I became a millionaire from drop shipping or
Right.
selling rare
And
fish. Or
my reason to expose all of that is to tell people that stop fucking complaining. Stop saying that I can't. Stop saying that there is no way. Stop saying that because I don't have enough time. It's like all of those types of things get canceled out once you add in the opportunities that I just started listing off. You can be somebody who's skillless, who barely has any income, who's not attractive. You could be short, ugly, fat. You could be slow. You could be a quadriplegic. You could be like you name it. You could be that and still on the internet become self-sovereign financially. So I went on that whole thing, not because I want people to open up an OnlyFans and start showing their butthole.
Like, well, I mean, hey, maybe you've got a nice
if that's
one.
what you're into, if that's the kind of thing you're into, leverage on that. It's funny. There's only 2 podcasts that I ever listened to, but one of them is the Tim Dillon Show. And he had this whole, Yeah, he had this whole rant about how he was like, if you're ugly, lean into that. Like if your dad's rich, lean into that. Like if you're somebody who's good at like, you have a lot of charisma, lean into that. And like that's really it. If you look at comedy specifically, how many not attractive, not really that funny comedians still figure it out? Why?
True.
Because they find a specific audience that likes that type of humor and they lean into it. And it's so true. Like there is a personality for everyone. You will be liked by somebody. Remember that, because I know so many people that come to me that want help with this, but they feel like they're not good enough. They're not, they don't speak quick enough. They're not, they're not as on the ball with their public speaking and all of this. And I tell them, like, you know what? If you do it from the heart, if you really mean what you're saying, if you're real, if you're genuine, somebody will resonate with that. Okay. If you have a skill, no matter what it is, if it's, building beach chairs, there's somebody out there who needs that. Okay. So do that and do that well and do that with 110%. And you will find an audience that absolutely loves what you do. They need that. They will support you. I just want to help people not be so limiting in their beliefs in a time, especially where we have the infinite potential of the internet.
Yeah, there's so many people nowadays. I mean, you can make like courses about how to make courses, right? Like you've the internet has bred people that do like white label, done for you social media marketing agencies, and they'll just tell they don't actually have a social media marketing agency. They teach other people how to do it. We're gonna probably get there in crypto one day too. Like we're gonna eventually be like those people teaching other people how to make crypto YouTube channels and scale them and be successful. But we're so early right now that that's not really happening yet. But anyway, that's just a random thought. Shout out to Ricardug Hex. He just paid me $20 to say the earth is flat. So thank you guys. I hope I hope that was valuable for all you guys on stream. Thanks, Ricardo. But yeah, guys, it's gonna be a crazy future we're living in. Right now, you can pave out your own path in this crypto game. So not a whole lot of it's just blue skies. There's not a whole lot of stuff that's been laid out. So we're all learning together, right? Even the whole thing with HEX or trying to get it be declared not a security, like no one's done this before. When you try to pay your taxes in crypto, nobody knows quite how to pay your taxes for all these complicated crypto transactions. So CPAs have a whole new opportunity out there. You can be a crypto specialized CPA. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, I think that that's like a great conversation to have for people at this time, because there's so much to do in the meantime between the chart staring. And so many people, when they get into crypto or trading or whatever it is that's based in this crypto blockchain ecosystem, they waste a lot of energy on bull runs and bear markets when they're just every day is, passing by like sand through their fingers on something that they're actually passionate about and that they can create. So I think it's important. Like one thing I'll say, some words of wisdom, is pick 2 priority tasks a day. One of them should be busy work that's based in study, research, development. And then the other one should be creative work. And that right there, just 2 tasks a day, creative work, and then some sort of busy work focused on research, development, study, that's going to change the game. And if you are disciplined in that, you could build a business around that. And then, sky's the limit.
As just one add-on to that too, try to have a physical hobby as well. A quick workout, quick run. It can be 20 minutes a day, but getting your body, your meat sack engaged, doing what it was supposed to do, like primitively programmed to do, that's going to help the other 2 things. That's going to help your creative and your learning, right? And your creative will eventually become your money making, right? All you need is a camera and a nice little microphone here, like I've got. Back in the day, I wasted 5 years of my life, just like Waters was just saying, watching crypto charts, scrolling through YouTube, crypto YouTube. At the time, it was like, who was it? Tone Bays, my God. And basically at the end of the day, I would waste hours and hours of time just listening to a bunch of guys say, hey, yep, price could go up, price could go down. We don't really know, or here's my shit coin of the day, go fuck yourself. And I would just waste my time. That's what those people were doing back in 2017. Waste my time on something I was passionate about, but not building myself into, like not integrating myself into. So getting off the sidelines for me was one of the best decisions I ever made. Scroll back 3 years ago to my first YouTube video. It sucks balls. Like it's really, really bad. But I'm glad I did it because my life took a turn for the better.
That's awesome, man. Well, I think like, that's been a big push for me to put my energy into my live streams that I do and some of the side work that I have with podcasting. And I don't want to just talk about crypto all the time. I feel like there's more. And I've been attracting a lot of people that are getting into crypto for the first time, but they align and resonate with my message more from, those things that I speak on in my live streams. So it's beautiful. And I'm very grateful to be a, crypto educator in such a specific niche of people that are looking to expand their consciousness, be sovereign, but also aware that the future is here and that there's something to pay attention to. And you don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
Absolutely, man. Sounds like a good place to wrap things up. You guys, anybody in the chat have any final questions? They're all talking about the flat Earth now. God damn it. Yeah, guys, it's a frisbee. Okay. Someone raises a very good point. If so, all the other planets are round and only the Earth is flat. I wonder what they'd say about that. Actually, just kidding. Don't even go down that rabbit hole. That's just such a waste of time. That's my final piece of advice: is just don't even Google flat Earth. You're gonna thank me later. Waters, you want to show your stuff before we go?
Oh, well, my YouTube channel, Waters Above, and my website, watersabove.com. I'm doing a live stream tomorrow. Going to be talking about a lot of spicy goodness. Probably not talking about crypto, but I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on Hex. I think probably cover it in a couple months or a month, depending on how things go. But I gave some really thorough information about it today. We were identifying some upcoming resistance levels to keep in mind for de-risking. So I hope that helped your community and anyone in my community who's invested.
Well,
But
me
besides that,
personally too. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. So I appreciate all of you guys. It's been a wonderful conversation again. I don't know how many podcasts we've done by now, but we're in our zone.
Nice, man. Yeah, go like and subscribe, guys. Waters Above. If you're not already, like and subscribe to my channel. Obviously, click that little button. Put your finger on it. You won't regret it. All right, guys. I'll talk to you on the next one.